hopefully you can all see that there. So firstly, I just want to give an overview of the postgraduate programs within the Department of Politics and Public Administration. So I suppose I've categorized this into two different categories. The first four programs, the MA in European Politics and Governance, International Studies, Peace and Development Studies, and the MA in Politics would really focus on political theory. The next four programs are more interdisciplinary in approach. So the Masters in Public Admin, the Cert in Public Admin and Law, the MA in European Studies, and the MA in Community Research really take a more interdisciplinary approach. They would have modules with contained within that would have public administration modules and politics modules, but they also combine other disciplines within that program. And I'll go through the structure of all those programs throughout the presentation here. And then finally, if you want to progress on to further study, PhD study, there's a number of options there from structured PhDs to Masters by Research also. So just starting off with the first four programs that are outlined there, the MA in European Politics and Governance, the MA in International Studies, Peace and Development and Politics. All these programs include graduate research methods as core modules in autumn and spring, and then they have their own core modules in the autumn and spring as well, as you can see listed there. So you'd have, as the name suggests, for European Politics and Governance, you'd have modules on institutions and policies of the EU, European governance, that sort of thing, and so on. So they really would follow the scope of the programs and the titles of the programs there as well. Just to note for the MA in Politics, you really build your own MA with that program. So there isn't any core modules, but you choose a lot of elective modules within those programs. So you'll see that in the next slide here, the elective modules that are on offer within the politics programs also. So in the autumn semester, you can do graduate seminars in development, political theory, public admin, and so forth, as you can see listed there. And in the spring, there's quite a number of available elective modules in peace building and global justice and gender and politics, in comparative climate policy and collaborative governance and so forth. So there's quite a variety of choice. You obviously have your core modules in the area of scope of your master's program, whatever master's program you choose, but you get a bit of flexibility then with the elective modules to choose different areas within the politics area within the department as well. So moving on to the more interdisciplinary programs within the Department of Politics and Public Admin. The Masters in Public Admin is very interdisciplinary in that it has modules in public admin and theory, but it also has modules from the Chemie Business School in organizational behavior, in economics for business, administrative law, and a law module in using evidence to improve societal outcomes as well. You also complete a dissertation as well, and that's available 1 year full-time or 2 years part-time. And there's also a related program in the graduate certificate in public admin and law, which is completely online and is effectively the Masters in Public Admin without completing the dissertation and excluding the KBS modules, so the Organizational Behaviour module, the Economics for Business, or the International Economic Issues modules, but the other modules would be present there. And Bernadette Connaughton is the course director for both. So then moving on to the MA in European Studies, this is a 2-year double degree programme. So year 1 would be spent in UL and year 2 is spent in our partner university in Germany, in Flensburg, the European University of Flensburg. It's in North Germany. So you would get, I suppose, perspectives from both institutions, and you're awarded a double degree. So you get a degree from UL and also from Flensburg, which is really useful in that kind of intergovernmental EU setting if you want to pursue a career in that area. So as you can see there, you've for year 1 in UL, you've institutions and policies of the EU, and then you choose 2 electives, which I'll go through in the next slide. And you've 3 electives in spring as well, and your skills modules, which is really mastering your employability modules there. And then for year 2 in Flensburg, you have a choice of elective modules, which I'll go through also. And that includes an internship, and you've an MA dissertation and research colloquium in the spring semester of year 2 in Flensburg also. And just to say, there's optional language modules throughout. So in UL, as you can see here, you would have optional language modules in beginners French, beginners German, beginners Spanish and Irish. And you can see the elective choice there, as I've mentioned, it's quite broad, and it gives you quite a broad knowledge base in different areas that would be very useful for pursuing careers in the EU institutions and intergovernmental organisations, and even within national governments also. And I'll just move on to the spring modules there as well. In the interest of time, I won't read out everything, but just to highlight also that mastering your employability module as well, which is extremely useful, particularly for those with less professional experience that want to improve their work-based skills also. And then there's the options for the year 2 at Flensburg also, so quite similar, quite interdisciplinary modules offered there. And obviously the spring semester is really focusing on your dissertation and a study trip to Brussels also. And then finally with the MA in Community Research Plus, so that really is a very practice-based master's, so you would do real on-the-job training and work with community and collaborative projects at UL Engage, which is a section here in UL that engages with the local and national groups. So you work in this area working with community groups and on community projects. And you can also choose specialisms within that program. So you can do modules, you do your engaged research project, but you can also choose different elective streams. So you can do community research plus journalism, which would focus a lot on media and reporting, and development and sociology as two other pathways as well. And the contact for that program is Maura Adset. I didn't go through the elective choices within this program because there's quite a lot to go through, but it's all available on our site, and I'll send all the details afterwards, after the call also, just to note. And then just moving on quickly to the postgraduate study in sociology. So we have two programs within sociology. So that's the MA in Sociology, Youth Community and Social Regeneration, which is led by Professor Owen Devereux, and we have the MSc in Sociology and Data Analytics, led by Emily Murphy. So for the MA in Sociology, Youth Community and Social Regeneration, again, it's one of those programs that really connects with the local and regional community. The modules are very much based on preparing students for their internship project, but also looking at modules around community and community development, state and society, and youth sociology and so forth. So it is a very practical module in that you're really preparing for work in that area, working on community regeneration projects, working in youth work and that sort of thing. And just to note with that program as well, there's a total of 15 places, internship places available on this program, and 15 places in total. So it is limited. So if you are interested in that program, I would advise you to apply early to ensure that you obtain a place on that program if you're interested in doing that kind of practical work experience and that sort of thing as well. So just moving on to the MSc in Sociology and Data Analytics. This is a really innovative program in that it combines sociological analysis and research methods with high-level training in data science and data mining. And it's really useful program for careers in the public sector, public and private sector in research roles, and really is something that will, offer a lot of career opportunities and future-proof your career going into the future, combining those two different areas. So you can see there's quantitative and qualitative research methodology, and also you do a lot of elective choice there from the different sociological strands. You've sociology of criminology, you've families in the life course, issues in gender and culture and society. And for the spring semester, you've similar options: social exclusion, urban sociology. You can see them all listed there, but I will send all the details afterwards, after the call also. So I'll stop presenting here, and I might move on to the student panel there. I might ask Kira, Alaya, and Deepak is already sharing his screen, just to share their screen there. So first of all, guys, I might ask you to introduce yourself there, a little bit about yourself, what you did before you applied to do a master's program. So we might start with yourself, Kira. You're unmute yourself there. Sorry.
Hi, sorry, take two. My name is Ciara Hogan. I undertook the MA in Public Administration. I currently work in the University of Limerick, so I undertook the MA as a part-time. So I did it over the 2-year period. So initially, my undergrad would have been business computing, but I'm working currently in the university. I'm senior exec admin in the area of governance. So kind of the public admin would be kind of the core of the work I do here. So it was more, I came at the course more from a professional development side than an employability side, but it certainly has enhanced my employability within the university itself. So as I said, I did the 2-year part-time. It was great. It was flexible. I had the option of doing it over the 2 years, and I found it really good.
Deepak, do you want to go next there? Just introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Deepak John Reggie, and I finished my master's in sociology and data analytics. So it was a 1-year master's program, and so I come from a tech background. I've been working as a data scientist for nearly 7 years before starting this course, and then after that, like I kind of started researching more on how we can embed data science into social science problems, and that's where like my thesis was on immigration and integration studies in Ireland. So that's about me. Yeah, thank you.
Very good, thanks. Alia, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so my name is Alia and I'm from Galway. So initially I did a PLC in social studies for a year at the Galway Technical Institute, and then I moved on to do social sciences at the University of Galway for 4 years. And then because my program was so broad, like social sciences, it's so broad. So I did modules in geography, sociology, and politics. So I wanted something that would just narrow in and focus solely on politics. That's why I decided to go ahead and do my master's in politics at UL.
Very good, very good. So I suppose, Ciara, you're kind of a captive audience being a staff member in UL, but I might ask this question to,
of course, yeah.
to Deepak and Alia. Why did you choose UL over other institutions? Like, what was maybe the attraction or the draw that brought you to UL, really? Do you know, apart, you know, over other universities, you know?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, perfect.
For me, when I was looking at master's programs in Ireland, I found that a lot of them, the core modules outweighed the elective modules, and that was something I was trying to move away from because that was my undergraduate program pretty much. A lot of the modules that I did do were core modules. So I think that the program, I taught at the time that the program at, and I still do, the program at UL was amazing because you'd only have to do one core module in semester 1 and one core module in semester 2, which is research methods. And I did that in my undergraduate. So, I mean, I think it's great that the research methods is a core module because it kind of nudges you on and holds you accountable in doing your dissertation. So I was happy to see that here. And then the other modules that I'm doing are the electives. So I just wanted to be able to control and have full range over exactly what I was going to study, especially at master's level.
That's great, and I think particularly with the MA in politics, you can really build your own portfolio. You know, I think maybe with the other programs, you do the core modules as well as choosing electives, but the politics program is a bit more flexibility there as well. And for yourself, Deepak, I know you travelled to Ireland, and what was the attraction of coming to UL in particular over other places as well?
Yeah, so there have been a couple of reasons actually. So one of the main one was like, so I was kind of researching some courses where I have the blend of both social science and data science. So it's mainly like from a tech perspective, like how we could actually embed certain things on a domain-centric study. So I was primarily working on environmental and ESG and on corporate sociology before coming to Ireland. And then my thought was like how it could be actually implemented on an individual and a society level perspective. So that's where like this course kind of came to my attention, where when I spoke to the professors actually before coming, so actually Unag only helped me with finding out some of these things, because I was kind of struggling to understand how we could kind of because this course is very complicated, to be honest, like because it has a lot of parts where we could kind of channelize. So from a tech side, like how we could actually enter into this particular domain. So when I was talking to my professors here, like they kind of helped me understand, like, okay, we could kind of work on these kind of research ideas because it belongs to this particular section inside sociology. So that's where like my whole specialization was on computational social science research, where my research and my studies were focused onto that. So that's one of the main reason why I actually joined UL, because it offers that particular unique program which has the blend of both. And then we could implement that in many perspectives, like even in career level, even in like research level, we could actually diverge and work on different streams. So that's one of the flexibility we have, like doing this particular program.
And just on that point, and maybe Kira might come in here as well. I suppose the learnings that you've obtained while doing the program, how has that affected your thinking in a work scenario or work sense? And I might start with yourself, Kira, and then come back to you, Deepak, in a minute.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, Una, because I kind of might have felt, I'm working in a role over 20 years, what more could I learn to do? But I learned so much, especially what Aliyah touched on was the research methods. I approach my work in a much different way now. My analysis and research has really kind of expanded more, and I found it's worked a lot more. And even I really enjoyed as well the interdisciplinary parts of it as well. So we had administrative law, we had economics. So I really got the student experience as well as the staff experience, and I've definitely brought that on board into my own work as well. Because as I said, mentioned definitely the research methods part of it. It's definitely it's benefited me greatly.
Yeah, that's great. And I think anyone, particularly working in a university setting, it's always good to have an understanding of that, and also understanding the student experience as well.
100%.
Brilliant. Yeah. And yourself, Deepak, I know you mentioned the unique offering in the MSc, and how have you utilized that in your career development as well, or even in your thinking potentially?
Right. So I would say like the way in which I started approaching problems kind of changed a lot over the period of time, like when I started in this university, because earlier the focus was on like how we can actually use some of these methods and technology and stuff like that. But then after coming to this particular program, like one of the main thing which we are going to study, like as other speakers are saying, like one of the thing is research, how we can actually do quantitative research, how we can do qualitative research, how we could do mixed methods. So these kind of things, like, and we all have like preferences. So maybe like a person would like to do interviews, or maybe a person would like to do surveys, questionnaires. So each of these things, like we are given the flexibility to kind of choose, because we have different projects which we could actually work in a team, where we could actually do individually. So we get to know like, okay, where we are good at, and then we could actually focus and channelize that into a sector. So that's where, like, when I was doing my program, I was also working in a company called Environmental Resources Management, where I was primarily working on ESG platforms. And I slowly moved into another company now. I'm now working in a company called Carelon, where most of this knowledge in like how I am doing my research, how I'm actually approaching a particular program, and how I'm applying AI into a domain-centric project. So these kind of things actually has a lot of impact in these kind of implementation-led projects. So I would say like some of these projects, especially one of the most important thing was like the thesis project which we worked on, because the thesis started from last December all the way through 2 semesters actually. So we did the project proposal, we did the ideation, we did the literature review. So it was actually like a stream where we would learn a lot of things. So that learning was actually very crucial. And one of the best part was like the professors were so supportive. So I had like two supervisors, they were like very supportive kind, and they kind of encourage us in the way that we would like to think in terms of how we would want to learn this particular subject. So there was no pressure in which like we have to do this, we have to do that, but then we were given proper guidance and help whenever we need. So yeah, that was one of the biggest thing I've actually like experienced while doing this program.
That's great. Thanks, Deepak. I suppose just to understand a bit more about, I suppose it's important to enjoy what you're doing and enjoy the subject. So, what was the most enjoyable aspects of the programs that you found, in particular modules or any elements of the programs that you found most interesting? I might start with you, Aaliyah, there first of all.
So I think it's great that a lot of my classes I have classmates who are doing different programs. So for example, peace and development studies, European politics, public administration. So it's great to see how they understand. So for example, if a lecturer presents a question to us, it's interesting to see how they would tackle it from, I guess, their background. So it's great to learn different perspectives because I think it helps us develop our own views. And then also, I feel like a lot of the way I'm thinking is different now. So you're kind of encouraged to push your own ideas and put them forefront. So you kind of lead with what you think rather than what like a scholar, for example, thinks. And then I don't know. It's just what you think really counts during your master's program. So I think that's great.
It's great actually. It kind of goes back to what Deepak is saying around support and fleshing out ideas, and kind of that element of a postgraduate program that may not be present in an undergraduate format or in modules is great as well. Yeah, so I suppose I'll ask here that same question. Is there any element of the program that you really enjoyed or really invested in, I suppose?
Yeah, very similar to the two guys. Like I really enjoyed the network that was there of all the other postgrad students. Like as in they came from all walks of lives, all ages, all areas. It was a real diverse grouping. I like that it was the healthy debate of you might have a completely different opinion to somebody else, and it was how to actually, it was a bit intimidating at the start, but over the 2 years you learned how to get your point across more, and that's something I've actually brought into my own area. You're learning how to develop your own ideas, and like similar to what Deepak said, when you came at the start, you might have had an idea what you were going to do for your dissertation, but it was teasing that out, what ideas you actually really interested in, and whether they were like, I went down, my dissertation was completely different in that it was the enforcement of data protection across the European Union, which affected everyone's walk of life and everything. And I would have done data protection works in a previous role, and it was something I liked, and I was able to bring that into my academic area, and actually it was an area I was able to push forward and learn, and I actually enjoyed learning about. And as Deepak said, it's you got to do work on areas you enjoyed, and they kind of gave you, your supervisors gave you the core work you needed, but they were always there helping you and kind of leading you in certain directions. But at the end of the day, it was you doing the work, and you were the one who actually were responsible for it, and to push, you put as much or as little as you want into it, but definitely got the benefits in the end then.
That's great. It's great to kind of have that network and really like debate things.
And I've still people I'm in touch with now as well. I don't know if the other guys are the same, definitely a network of people there of all walks of life, and I'm still friendly with them, and we still meet up and that. So yeah, and it's good networking as well. Do you like that when you are in like there's people who I know who were in undergrad, and I've been able to assist them in how they've gone for work now, because I'm currently in a role, and like that they've been able to help me in their areas as well. They've created new roles as well, so it's a good kind of networking there as well.
Yeah, and it's nice to have a mix in class, actually, of professionals.
Oh, definitely,
and then you really learn from each other, actually. It's interesting, And yourself, Deepak, is there any elements that you'd really pick out from the MSc that you found particularly useful or beneficial?
Yeah, so I would say like the whole perception about many things like actually changed a lot. Like I would say because there have been a lot of things which we had like a preconceived notion about, okay, like we should approach certain things like this, we should do certain things like this, but that all changed a lot. And then at a personal level and at a career level, actually. So the choice in which, so let's say we are given like 10 things last year, like which one we'll definitely pick it. So that choice is actually like improved a lot after doing this particular program, because now we are more focused, now we are more concise on to what we essentially want or what we essentially need to actually focus on. So that's one of the biggest thing that happened in my life. And the second thing is like along with the course, actually, like, so I kind of like teaching a lot. So I was given an option to do tutoring along with my studies. So even last semester I did, now this semester also I'm doing. So there's a second time actually. So that flexibility, that freedom in which we could work with professors in kind of learning, because I didn't do sociology in my undergrad, and most of these things like actually I am getting a chance to revisit again when I'm actually teaching. So this kind of flexibility is something which this course is offering, because we get to discuss a lot of these things with professors, with students, with colleagues. And the third important thing was like the diverse background of my colleagues, as others actually were mentioning, because one of our colleague was in psychology, another one was in environmental, another one was in social work. So even the research topics which they picked was actually like aligning to what they really want. One person actually wanted to interview autistic students, teachers. Another person want to go to an eco village, and I want to actually study immigration. So it's like all of us want to actually explore different things, and our supervisors were very much appreciative of the fact that we kind of picked up what essentially we need to study, because that's who we are embodied, right? Like we want to study it because there have been some life experiences which kind of makes us feel like, okay, I want to dig deeper into it, or I want to understand more into it. Because as an immigrant, I want to actually study how immigrants are actually being treated in this country, or how the attitudes of people are towards immigrants. So it very much resonates to what essentially we need. And that's one of the thing which I realized, because whatever we are studying in sociology, it's actually like it's something which is being experienced by us, by the person who we are living with, or the society which we are living. So it's everywhere in which whatever we are doing, and every theory which we are actually studying. So that's where like some of the subjects, so one of the major subject which we study is on urban sociology, so which we kind of study how over the period of time how it's being like structured across the societal structure, in which different waves of colonization, then demographics, everything is actually like channelizing in this society, in this modern society, and how sociology is being picking up this place, which which has like the flavor of both psychology, politics, and other elements. So I feel like this was actually giving us a space to think about many of these things, because every week we have like reading week where we come up with different research papers where we discuss a lot of these things. So each one of us has to discuss it. So that gives us more flexibility to kind of understand and debate on this kind of topics. So yeah, these are some of the things.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and even I think with sociology and politics also, you know, in public administration, that it really is topics that affect people's everyday lives, and you know, I think that's something that's very valid what you're saying, you know, and the research topics and areas that you focus on in your dissertation are really of interest to yourselves and really can be utilized afterwards. And I know Kira touched on that with the GDPR research that she did as well, you know, that it's something that you can really explore a bit more at postgraduate level and really take the time to delve in and research further as well, which is great. Um, so I just want to, I suppose, finally wrap up, and then we'll go to Q&A. So just to let the participants know on the call that you can submit your questions via the chat there. But just what advice would you give to anyone thinking of applying to a postgraduate course, either in the application process, but also in the throughout the course, and what advice you would give there also. So I might start with you, Aaliyah, there.
So I would say go for it if you can. Like it's a great program. I have no regrets. I'm not that busy, to be honest. I'm in about maybe 3 times a week. So I have time to work on my assignments, to work on my dissertation. I also work back home in Galway. And then I also work for the university as a research assistant. So I conduct data on political parties in Ireland. So I'm juggling a lot, but you can do it. You know, it's a really, really like it's a great, it will stand to you forever, you know. So I think go for it. I think a few weeks before starting your program, you'll be asked to pick your elective modules. Do it, but if I would suggest that you should spend, I think the first week you have a period of grace to go to all the classes, and then if you change your mind, I think you should switch modules. Don't stick to a module that you don't really feel comfortable with. You know, maybe you don't have the background or something like that. For me, for one of my modules, that's what I had to do. So, and I'm glad I did it. So I would say your first week, attend all the elective modules and see if you want to change or stick to what you already picked.
That's great, and it's good advice in any sense in life. Go for things that you want to pursue. You know, obviously you have to consider a lot with pursuing postgraduate study and the time commitment and everything else, but it's a nice sentiment there, Aliyah, I think. Kira, you might give your any insights or advice that you've picked up from your time applying and doing the program as well.
Yeah, same. I thought about it for a few years and I wanted to do it. I remember looking at it once or twice, and I remember, and like, if you have any queries at all, I'd suggest maybe contacting the course directors, no matter what query you have, it's big or small, if you're not too sure about anything, or about even like the time management is an important factor. Like, to be honest, like I work full time 9 to 5, I have a small child, and I was still able to manage it and come through. You know, the leaders of the modules are very flexible. You know, if you have any personal issues or you have any queries, you can talk to them. They're very open as well. But like that, I think if you have the doubt now at the moment or any queries, contact the course directors. They're great. They'll answer more or less anything you have, and if not, they'll know who'll be able to answer it for you.
Yeah, and I would say that like at a
Yeah.
postgraduate level, they do understand that some people are coming from different backgrounds, and that
Yeah.
there is a bit more flexibility there for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great advice actually, and you can also contact me as well if
Oh,
you've
sorry,
any
I knew
questions.
that.
No, that's fine. But just to say that if they've any questions on applications or submitting applications or anything, just I'll give my details afterwards, after the call, and send a recording of this webinar to everyone. But just to say that as well. And Deepak, do you have any advice for any incoming students or prospective students also?
Yeah, definitely. So, so basically, like if someone is interested in sociology, which like want to apply into particular data background or things like that, then definitely like this is a good course for you, because I would say like it gives a lot of ideas, like both on the social perspective as well as on the tech side, because we are having subjects where we are going in a lab and we are like coding and trying to understand things. So basically on the programming side as well, we are given the knowledge as well as the social science topics. So that's one thing. And like there's a wonderful video which Ross is actually explaining in that website, where Ross is walking us through like, okay, this is what this course is designed to. And he's kind of explaining what when he was structuring this particular program, how it should look like and what it should be. So if someone is interested, you can actually watch out that video. That can be like the first step. And then if you have like further queries or clarification, like maybe you can actually talk to the course director, Emily, and they can actually direct you to the corresponding. So basically, it's like we have on the, so it's structured like two things. So one is like on the quant sector, purely on statistics and other data methods, and then on the qualitative side, where we are kind of studying how we could do the research, how we could interpret the data and stuff like that. And then we have the domain subjects like urban sociology is there, social stratification is there, social exclusion is there, and things like that. So this is how the program is actually structured. And while studying, I was actually working as well. So the courses were on like I think 3 days a week, along with the assignments and stuff like that. But then process are like very much like supportive. Like if you need extra time for submitting the assignments and things, like please feel free to go talk to them, because they are going to accommodate that. And like even while studying also, like if you want to actually collaborate on different research projects, so I actually collaborated on 2 research projects when I was studying. So that gives us a lot of experience, right? Like how to do and how to work with this process, because they will be having some great projects lined up, and they will help, like they can actually help us on board onto these kind of projects where we could also work like as a research assistant or teaching assistant and things like that. So these kind of flexibility is there. So along with studies, so which is a good opportunity, because that gives us a lot of understanding on how to improve in this particular area. So yeah, this is my take. Yeah.
That's great, and I think you maximised your opportunities there, Deepak, didn't you? And you'd great involvement in different
Right.
projects, and yeah,
Right.
there's a lot of activity actually that postgrad students can
Correct.
get involved in on the research side, which is great as well. So I don't see any questions yet, but if anyone in the audience wants to ask a question, I'd be happy to answer. If you have any questions, I'll just give it a moment or two.